Hi there, welcome to this build of a 45-inch wingspan Quiver. Now, the Quiver is a scaled down version of the much larger vintage model, the Flying Quaker, which was built in or designed in the late 1930s. Now, we're building this Quiver from a great set of plans which we downloaded from the OuterZone website. And if you have a look in the description below this video, you'll find a link where you can download the plans free of charge. And as I said, they're a great set of plans, all the information that we need. Now, I'm going to be starting to build the fuselage today, and I'm going to be just building the two sides ready to be pulled together to make the fuselage. And I'm going to be doing it as per the plans with a slight variation. Now, this is a fairly straightforward sticked up fuselage using 3/16 balsa. But I'm going to make this slight variation where I'm going to actually laminate the curved pieces. This 3/16, yes, we can bend the balsa and it will do. But you're putting quite a lot of tension into that piece of balsa to get that bend. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to laminate it with two pieces of 3/32 balsa, and I think that will give us a much stronger finish without the tension in the front of the fuselage here. Now, this top piece, I'm also going to laminate that rather than joining just at the back here. I think that joint's a bit of a weak spot, and I think by laminating it we can put in the bend that we need there, and we can still keep that quite a nice sharp bend, but it will be continuous pieces of balsa. So what I'm going to do, I've got a spare side of the plan. I'm going to set this up on my balsa building board, and we'll have a look at what we're going to do. Right, well, I've got my plan stuck down on my balsa building board so I can pin through it nice and easily. I've got some plastic on top just so I don't stick to the plans. Hopefully that's not shining too much in the camera, I don't think it is. And I've got the balsa that I'm going to be using to build this, and I've got my 3/16 square for sticking up between the sides, and as we can see, that's quite an ask for that. I have to put quite a lot of pressure on. So we're going to laminate that, as I said, and I've got the two pieces of 3/32, and that will go round really nice around that curve. Once it's glued, PVA'd, it will hold that shape really nice. So I've got the balsa ready for that, and also for that top piece where we can just put in that quite a nice sharp angle there for that top. Now, to hold all this in place, I've raided my scrap box, and I've got all these pieces here, and we're going to be pinning this along the length. Now, I'm using the pieces of balsa rather than just sticking in my pins, because the pins will leave an indent in the side of the balsa if we just stick the pin right against the balsa. So much better to use a block like this to hold. Oops, let's just push that in. There we go. Much better to use a block like that to hold the balsa. It just prevents us from damaging it and then having to sand that out. So I think we're ready to get on and PVA these sides first, or the top and bottom first, and then once that's done, I will be CAing the rest of the pieces in place. I've got a piece of card here which I'm going to be doing the PVA on, because if you've seen this before, it's quite a messy process, but great fun to do. I really enjoy laminating. So I will trim these to size first, and then we'll PVA them. Right, as you can see, I've got this all set out now and pinned exactly where I want those top and bottom pieces that we've just laminated. And the next job now is to start cutting the 3/16 and just sticking up this fuselage. You can see there's a couple of pieces on the plan I've scribbled out because those are the formers, and I just didn't want to get confused in all the excitement of sticking this up. So I will start to do that now. As I said, I'm going to use some CA. I'll use some thin CA to do the rest of this. And I quite like using CA because you can put a piece in, you can glue it, and then it's there, it's set. It's not going to move when you put the next piece in. You're not going to lift it off this piece just subtly, or, you know, I just like the instantaneous of it gluing. It's not because of the speed, because the overall speed anyway, because we're going to leave this overnight before we unpin it and then clean it up, ready for the second side. So I'll get on and do this now. Well, this is taking shape now, and just a couple of comments. I don't particularly like pinning into balsa, but these pins are nice and thin, the holes will soon disappear. But where I have pinned, I like to pin on a joint here, so that when I come to put in this, it's not pushing it up. I get it to fit exactly without any flex in this horizontal piece. And where possible, like here, I like to pin on pieces that are going to be trimmed off. So it's just the way I like to work, really, just to limit my pinholes and put them strategically. So I will get on now and finish this, but you can see it's really starting to take shape now. We've just got this cabin section to finish. Right, well, this fuselage side now is finished for the moment. We've got it all glued, sticked up, everything in that forms this fuselage side. And we're just going to wait now, we're going to leave it overnight, 24 hours, just for this PVA to make sure that it really is dry. I've put in the corner pieces here. I mean, pieces like this obviously needs a huge amount taking out of it to get the shape of the window, and again we'll put lovely arcs on these, so these will come down quite a lot in size. The only one that won't is this corner piece here, which is for the beach dowel, and so I've made sure to get that exactly kind of the right size I want it. So we'll leave this now, and we'll come back in the morning and we'll see what it looks like, and then we'll get it cleaned up and we can then build the second one on top of it. Well, the moment of truth, always exciting to take this off the board. It's been drying overnight, probably about 20 hours, something like that. So we'll get it off, we'll get it cleaned up, and then we can build the second side. Right, well, always good to have a ruler handy to slide underneath just to get the plastic off where the glue has stuck the balsa to the plastic. So we'll get all the pins out, and hopefully we've got one really nice side to clean up. Now, the sides that I laminated were just slightly over 3/16 because I knew there might be the odd difference between them, and I could sand them down to fit the 3/16 cross pieces. So all of the timber in this should end up 3/16 when we've cleaned it up. And I will just run across the top with a sanding stick to make that side nice and smooth and flat. Okay, last couple of pins now. Oh, that one's in hard. God, I can't get that out. Gonna need a pair of pliers. There we go. Right, now this is probably stuck to the plastic, so we'll just run our ruler underneath, and there we go. Oh, that's nice. I think this is going to be quite a strong structure. Oh, it's got a bit of plastic on it there. I think this is going to be quite a strong structure, like I say. It's particularly around the cabin here where it needs to be. So what I'm going to do now is, if I just get this board out of the way, and we're going to put this on the bench, and I'm going to use my sanding stick. Now, the side we had down on the plans is going to be nice and flat. This is the side where these side laminated pieces are just a little bit too thick and just need taking down. So we're going to sand this, but we're going to do it really careful. We don't want to go side to side. We want to kind of run down the length like this. Well, we now have one of our fuselage sides, and this is looking really, really nice. It's got very little weight to it. It seems quite rigid. So what we'll do now is we'll get on and we'll make the second side, and we're going to do that on top of this. So we'll bring our building board back, and what we're going to do is we are going to get some 3/16 timber to pin this into place, and we're going to pin it round all the way around with 3/16, and I'm using 3/16 because I don't want it to be higher than this, because we're going to pin this in place. We can also put pins through here, particularly the bits where we're going to file that out or sand that out into nice curved windows. So we'll get it pinned out. Everything will be at a 3/16 level. We're then going to put on some cling film, some very thin plastic that's quite flexible, so that we can then build on top of that, and we won't stick the second side to this. So I'll get this pinned down, set up, and we'll come and have a look at that. I've got my fuselage side now pinned on the plan, just a couple of pins, and I've got this cling film on top. It's called cling film in the UK. I don't know what it's called in other parts of the globe, but it's the kind of film you have for wrapping sandwiches in, and it's really kind of thin and flexible, so it's quite good when you're putting in these big blocks just to push down. It just stretches a little bit. Now I was going to use just 3/16 around here, but I've decided to use slightly taller blocks, and I will put these around the edge like this, and then I can get my laminated pieces to start with, and I can just put those against that with an extra block on the inside to hold it. I think that will probably be a better way of doing it, with these slightly bigger blocks. Always worth keeping lots of little bits of scrap like this. Raid the scrap box. these may need adjusting as I go on. They may not be in the right place, and I may get a little bit of a bulge once I start to pin it out, but these are easily moved. Right, well, this is all set up now and ready to accept the laminated pieces, and so exactly the same procedure as before now, and we can just put these blocks on the inside to hold that in place. Like I say, this film very thin and flexible, so it's ideal for this. So I'll get on and get these laminated. Right, we've got these two laminated pieces in place now, and they're all held nice and firm directly on top of the side below. So we should be getting an identical copy, hopefully. And now all I need to do is go around like I did before and just stick this up. And again, as I did with the other side, I'm going to be using CA, a thin CA, just to glue these in place as I go. Right, I've now got this second side all sticked up on top of the first side, and we just need it to glue. The only bits I haven't done is this bit for the window here, this bit of sheeting. I've done all the other corners, just not this one, because I didn't want to move this block because it was holding that bend there quite a nice sort of angle, and I just didn't want to mess with it. And it'll be easy to do as soon as I take this off. That'll probably be the first thing I do before I sand it. So we'll leave this now till tomorrow, and we'll come back and have a look, see what it looks like. Right, I've now got this second side off the building board, and it's gone lovely, just like the first. So I've got two sides, which is just what we need. And I've had them together. I've just clamped them lightly and sanded them, so these are literally identical sides now, and very light, but they feel quite strong, particularly, as I said earlier, around the cabin section. Now I've sanded and profiled the window areas. This back one I might do a little bit more, and I've just used my round sanding sticks, which I make myself, and if you have a look in the description below, there'll be a link to a video showing how I make these. And this size is just perfect for sanding these radiuses. You can see I've put a little bit of balsa in the nose there, some 316. I decided to put that in because this front is a real weak area, and it's going to take not only the landing gear, but it's also going to support the ends of the engine mounts. And once I've got the cross formers in, one of which goes here, I'm going to sheet in this bit as well, just to give some more strength to that front end. And I think a little bit of weight from that extra balsa right up in the nose isn't going to make any difference, and actually it might prove being a little bit beneficial. So, but like I say, I don't think it'll add a lot. So at the end of the day, we now have our two identical sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this video to a close now, and in the next video, which I'm really excited about, we're going to start to pull these sides together and actually see the fuselage take shape. So thanks very much for watching, and I hope you'll come back and see how we get on with the fuselage of this 45-inch wingspan Quiver.